Bam! Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ, and welcome to this third pillar of Exploration Thursday as we continue our discussion of surreal, chaotic, um, dreamscapes and mindscapes, where the environment itself, the adventure, the dungeon, the very physicality of the worlds that we are designing are affected by the minds and maybe even motivations of our player characters, or our big bad evil guys that we use in our adventures. Now, of course, I'm down in the lower right corner. I wanted to just give something else other than my boring face to take a look at. Here we are on a very popular website known as ArtStation. I hope maybe we can take a look at some of the surreal. Uh, I filtered it for surreal landscapes and to just give us some inspiration as to the various locations and the design of what we could consider surreal. Now, one of the problems, and this is air quotes problems. Hey there, uh, TMR. Thank you very much for stopping by. Um, all of you who are able to take part in the show live, I appreciate your presence. You are the co-host of the show. Makes me look very brilliant. So, one of the air quotes difficulties in having a surreal landscape is that a place that is completely chaotic is is very difficult to create because true chaos means that nearly any environment is possible, which may mean that there are environments that we can't even conceive of. So we do have to narrow the scope down a bit. Um, the other day, Z brought up a really good point, and it sparked some ideas in me. I'll share them in a minute because I really want to get your ideas first. But I was very, I was just like, I was doing an old things that make you go, hmm, and it had me really, it gave me a lot of mind fuel, so I appreciate it. Z says, "Good morning, everyone." And if your face was boring, I doubt we'll be back 5 days a week. Or maybe it's punchable. That could be a thing. People in the background burning calories. Like, let me punch this dude's face. Yes, Deadman says, I had a thought the Lawnmower Man RPG. I hadn't thought about that in a long time. And that very much is like I mean, is there a correlation between science fiction and like the the Matrix is just as much part of like our conversation as What Dreams May Come or the movie The Cell and Dreamscape and a number of these other things. As a matter of fact, and even in television shows, we've seen the proto flashback where one of our main characters is going through something. Maybe they're feeling some kind of guilt, or they're in the hospital and they are um, uh, like trying to play through difficulties in their brain, and the other characters in the television show represent different bits and pieces of their personality, whether it's guilt or anger or unfinished business or something like that. And I think we can make lots of you know bits of use these as building blocks, if you will. And I think one way to set up, because we are talking about exploration, right? This is the third pillar of gaming. I think we could maybe identify certain types of emotions or motivations or personality types and attach a physical construct to it. The idea of scaling a mountain or Atlas, carrying the weight of the world or pushing that one boulder up a hill continuously could be something, related to one or more player characters needing to feel like they're useful or always, the paladin that wants to eradicate all evil, but knowing that it's like whack-a-mole. The minute they knock down one bit of evil, there's like three more that pop up somewhere else. And maybe their fear is the fact that their mission will never be complete. They'll never live to to complete it or see it gone. And that can be a fear for a lot of people, in reality, and for our heroes, absolutely. So I think attaching some form of like, we could go very extremely base level, right? Like earth, air, fire, water that could represent different types of uh, challenges that we need to fight through. Earth could be climbing mountains or scaling walls or avoiding, falling debris. Air could be, losing our minds or being distracted or, thinking far in the future rather than being concerned about the here and now. Um, Fire could be battle or anger or misdirected misdirected um, uh, pain or battle or aggression towards one or more peoples or groups or something that is undirected, where maybe the player character regrets, you know taking out that hobgoblin horde when it really wasn't their fault. They actually got pushed out of their homeland by the twin black dragons, which I think is actually in an adventure. But anyway, maybe they got pushed out by the twin black dragons, and now the twin black dragons are living in the hobgoblins, homeland, ancestral homeland, and the PC is like, you know what, I really shouldn't have did battle with them because they actually weren't wrong. They didn't bother us until they got pushed out of their own land, although they did start to ravage our land here, and that could be a whole story in and of itself, and they're living it through their minds. And mechanically speaking, we could absolutely positively start to, if you want to do this quick and dirty, you could reskin monsters, elementals, oozes, um, actual regular old creatures, plant creatures, and things like that, and kind of reskin their purpose. Of course, in a dream type of hey Wayne, in a dream type of landscape, or even if it's not dream, maybe it's like the plane of pandemonium, or it's some kind of place where it shifts and changes, or it's inside of someone else's a victim's mind or something. Adding, like attaching a spell or series of spells or monsters or traps or something, and just recontextualizing them, I think would be kind of cool. Mike says, I was going to bring up album titles too. Mike says, so there's a Metallica album called Saint Anger. This brought up a discussion over the seven deadly sins. Yeah, that led to a discovery that there is a color associated with each sin. Wrath being red, envy being green, greed yellow. What if a dreamscape associated with a regret of fear is all one color? Wayne's like, he spelled color with a U. Yeah. I've had a hey, if you ever use Google Docs, it'll do that with you. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, armor, color. There's a couple others. There's a couple other words where they do that, and my Google Docs is like, "You're in the United States. You can't spell it with that. Did you mean to spell it like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I play role playing games. You should know this by now." Mm-mm-mm. Mike says a forest where someone was murdered, okay, uh, in a crime of passion could be red or purple. A home where someone was evicted to save a dollar is yellow, and so on. And you could associate those particular colors with a mechanical, like with a mechanical feature in your game world. So what's a good rage monster? I've been picking on trolls. Let's go somewhere else. Hellhounds. Let's go with hellhounds, right? So let's say red represents hellhounds, and mind you, they don't need to be either from hell or hounds, but maybe they're just like some kind of bestial creature or something, maybe death dogs or whatever, and that are like red, and when they pad around, they leave like red foot marks or something. And every time the player characters, this is um, what I was talking about, discoveries in exploration, when they see the color red again, they may go, "Uh-oh, I know what kind of danger is probably lurking around the corner." And so therefore they're like, they could be prepared for it. If you've ever take very early on, M. Night Shyamalan who would make his movies. The Sixth Sense, Signs, and so on and so forth. He does a a version of that. So if you've ever looked back at the movie, s- um, The Sixth Sense, the color red is very prominent when you see, without giving away the end, you'll see that that clue was given very early on in the movie and traces throughout the movie when you see the color red. Um, it's very prominent in the scene where there's a family that's gathered together for a funeral, and it's very prominent there. But there's other places throughout the movie where you'll see someone in a red vest, or they have a bright red flower in their hair, or they have a red handkerchief or something, and that could be a foreshadow. Remember, I was talking about foreshadow before. Maybe this is a clue in your surrealistic world where that's a possibility. Eh, Wayne says, "Hello from Minnesota." I'm not gonna make fun of the accent because I know I've got one. Zamar says, "If it helps, when I described my players getting lost in the Feywilds, I described the various creatures they saw using fears as colors, emotions as uh, cardinal directions, and desires as landscape." See, and I love that because sure, in the beginning, like maybe your players don't understand what's going on. Like they don't realize like red and green and purple. Why am I describing that? But if you're consistent with it, they will pick up on it very easily. It's kind of like it's like being the dungeon master and describing the room and adding like three extra bits of description to the stuff in the corner. And it's like, of course, the players are going to pick up on that. It's like, why did he ignore the door to the left, but describe the door to the right in vivid detail? Hmm, there must be a reason for that. So, yeah. Um, I haven't clicked on any of these individuals. They deserve to um, I don't want to take credit for their art, so that's why I have their names up here. But I don't want to focus on one individual because, despite this being, you know, being their artwork being out in the public, um, I don't want to take credit for any of their art and or pick any particular person. Although I really do want to click on a ton of these individuals. Maybe some other time. Mm, 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 mm. Hey, Druden. Color is written with a U by every civilized person. Uh oh. Uh oh. Don't take that too far. You might sound like the Europeans in the triple R movie, the RRR movie. Don't do that. I love that movie, but they really made they straight up were like, yeah, this is the first 5 minutes, and all the British people are evil with a capital E. Oh, I love that movie. I really want to do like I would really love to go back to like movies as RPGs and do that series, but no one likes to watch those. Yeah. Oh, we've got to do an open like spoiler. Me too, Wayne. Me too. Yeah, I loved RRR. It is a wonderful, beautiful, like no holds barred 3 hours. Ah, I love that movie. It's so great. I'm glad it's getting attention, especially that musical that musical scene. What makes me want to get up and dance. Mike says, an adventure in the nine hells can be associated with the same sins. The landscape can reflect the archdevil's portfolio. Yeah, I've always felt that way. Like uh, um, Azrael for wrath, Mammon for greed. I always pronounce the name of this location from DIS as D, not dis, but D. But doesn't matter, right? Like most people think of like the hells or like the abyss or something filled with fire, but actually that's while burning to death is absolutely a fear and a horror for most people, burning for eternity. There's a lot of other things worse than death, right? Like there's some hells I know I could go into that have nothing to do with fire, and that would just be brutal. Um, I really don't like. For me, it's body horror. That's my thing. On myself or other people, I just don't like. I don't like eyes where they shouldn't be. I don't like organs not being inside the body. I don't like limbs and arms and hands sticking out of places they shouldn't be. It's just mouths too. Um with the gibbering mouther, and I dare you to call it something else other than gibbering. I'm joking, but the gibbering mouther just freaks me out. I don't like it. I mean, I'll use it, but it's just like it. I don't want it crawling on my skin. Zamar says, by fear as colors, etc., I would describe something as the xenophobic locks on the stag's horns draw you in hypnotically as it gazes on a field of flowering power before turning um anger words at. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, okay, okay. So let me um I if we're on the same page, Z, we're on the same page. Using metaphor and simile in descriptions can really elicit the surreal nature of a landscape. So in other words, instead of using words like um, describing something in the way you see it, maybe describing things in the way you feel it, um, in the way it reminds you of something, makes something far more surreal. Like, for example, um, using mixing and matching our senses versus what we see, like being able to smell the anger of a place, being able to see what a thing feels like. The I don't know. um you see morphing and shadowy mountains in the distance that elicit a sense of horror and jealousy towards the landscape before you or something. I know I'm paying attention to a number of other things, but using metaphor and simile to describe a thing, like a very common one I've used is for cyberpunk was like you walk down the dark streets that smell of desperation and despair, right? Like a place doesn't smell of desperation and despair, but there are scents that you every person has something that they smell that kind of elicits that. Like, is it urine? Is it like body odor or something? It's like old garbage, sure, but if something smells of despair, you kind of get what you mean, right? So things that you see that make you feel a certain way, things that you hear that remind you of something. So yeah. Michael's the DJ. Body horror is my DM style, along with folk horror. Folk horror is something that we don't use very often. Back in the day, it used to be like dwarves and elves were just as horrible as goblins and gremlins, but we all like to play the like domesticating cats and dogs or lupines and felines into making them pets. We sure do like to portray the very things that we're afraid of. So yeah, I'm with you there, Drew. Yeah, eyes everywhere are fine. Teeth make me uncomfortable. Yeah, teeth horror. There's some people specifically don't like teeth horror, and putting mouths and eyes on things that really shouldn't have them, like walls and clouds and plants and things, like just freaks me out. But it freaks me out in the sense of it makes me feel the way I probably should feel, and oof, I'm nervous leg shaking right now just thinking about it. Oh, the sudden scream. You instantly feel the world shift towards terror as a large minotaur climbs out of the family tree line. Ooh, ooh. See, Z's far better at this than I am. Um, far more better than this than I am. But yes, also like yeah, tentacles are a big thing too. Yeah, Mike says a broken man is a being whose every joint and limb are broken and assembled incorrectly. He attacks with a 20-foot long acidic tongue. The bound is mummified in chains and travels on myriad chain tentacles. And listen, you start describing something without calling it what it is, it could be anything. Like right there could easily just be use a stat block as a giant spider or something, right? But you start describing it as like a as an enlarged broken human being with their joints distended and their bones broken, and it's like what's the young lady that was the contortionist that portrayed the ghost risen ghost in the Ring movies, like how freaky that was, but it was just a contortionist in a dirty dress and an oily wig, but it was just like when you see this person's body contort and walk out of a television or down some stairs and herky jerky walking. Um, the great actors that portray zombies, the cordyceps zombies in The Last of Us were really good with the adding the audio with the clicking and the split head mushrooming that's happening and the slow methodic but like quick herky jerky clicking as the cordyceps zombies looked around, and then when they zeroed in on you, they just like it was just pure dash action the entire time. It's pretty scary. uh Zamar says play a Call of Cthulhu game with me, guys. I will teach you real horror, and that will be long before you meet anything unnatural. Yeah, it most horror is just the best horror is the one is usually what we put in our heads, not what we portray outwardly, right? It's what's in the distance, is what's in the shadows and such. I think that's one of the reasons why the Shadow Dark Kickstarter for the Kickstarter for the Shadow Dark RPG, which I supported myself, uh, it hit or break $1 million? But anyway, in it, there's this like no dark vision, and you better have a torch. And every hour of real game time, your torch goes out. Sorry, you can't see. Which I think even in fifth edition, I think anything past 60 feet or on average 60 feet was which is the distance of your average dark vision. I know it goes past that for particular options, but anything past that should just be complete horror. You can't see what's past that. Even with your dark vision, you don't know. You hear things, but you don't know what's out there or how many are out there. It makes Thomas the Train pure horror. Funny. But I don't know, putting faces on things that shouldn't have it, or mixing and matching innocence with decadence is always a thing, like the dirty doll baby idea, right? Yeah. Mike says Scream Queen has mouths for eyes, and every time she's cut, a new mouth opens. Oof. Ugh. Each mouth screams, and I consult the madness table. Wisdom save, please. Yeah. Oh. I just gotta chill. Okay. But yeah, harming a monster and having it like grow more eyes and mouths every time you cut it or something. The classic, what's the movie? The classic movie The Thing was not classic. This was in the 80s because I think The Thing existed before that. So anyway, in the movie The Thing, there's a really awesome scene where someone's trying to use paddles to start someone's heart, and then all of a sudden the shape changing mimic like creature opens a maw in its chest, and the person goes to put their arms on their chest, and it just opens up like a mouth like a mimic and severs their arms. I was like, oh, I hate this creature. Its head just like leaves its body and starts to grow spider like limbs off of its head and sprouted eye stalks. I'm like, oh man. Mm-mm-mm. So Marv says, I love the look of the clicker kiss scene. Yeah. I just hated that it was added in that way. As we tell every GM, keep your fetish out of your games. Save that shit for the bedroom. Jeez. Yeah, it was I thought it was a strange choice myself for I think they could have done it in a different scene with a different character or something. I think at that very moment, the juxtaposition of that character with that monster I didn't think fit the way it did. Because it was a little, it was like, are the cordyceps that nice? Because up until that point, they were kind of like rippity dippity. Yeah, the thing is a remake. Yep. Timothy TMR says yes. Eyes and screaming mouths sprouting from fresh wounds is gold. And you know what? You could do that. Okay, there's two ways you could make that happen, right? Like, did someone pin a message? That's I didn't notice that. Maybe I did. Um, funny. Um, one of the there's so one way is just using pure description. Don't change anything mechanical, and describe attacking a monster. I'm going to pick on trolls again. I know, because I'm a trollophyte. No, what's a person that hates trolls? Anyway, so you could just describe the monster as being cut and slashed and attacked and growing new eyes and things like that, or shape changing and morphing without any mechanical changes that would just freak people out anyway. Because I can tell you the player characters are going to go, wait a minute, so I slashed it 3 times, it's got 3 more mouths. Does that mean it's got, am I a trollphobe? I'm probably a trollphobe. It's more trope-phobe, not a troll-phile. Troll-philes love trolls. Phobes hate it. Trollophobic? Yeah, I'm a troll. I'd be a troll-phobe, and I am actively being troll-phobic. So yeah, yeah. But but I'm sure your player characters are going to go like, does that mean it gets more bite attacks on me? Now, mechanically, could you say that it does? Yeah, you could go so far as to do that. Um, I don't know if I would initially, but that's a great foreshadow, right? Like, boom, you attack these creatures and they're growing more eyes and mouths. Now, guess what, Rogue? You can't sneak attack. And oh, by the way, um, it gets a couple of extra bite attacks when you get close into it, or if it successfully grapples or something. And that's a great escalation feature for a very horrific monster, right? Or set of monsters. Mike says, now I'm thinking the creatures from The Last of Us may be a great visual for zombies made by spore druids or is it Zigdamoy? Zugdamoy? The demon queen of rot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hell, we could do a whole look. I've been wanting to talk about like House of the Dragon, RRR, the Last of Us. What's some other really cool things that came out? Mandalorian started back up. It's all right. Mandalorian started back up. What's another great pop culture thing we can steal from and shape our games around? Golly, I can't think of anything off the top of my head because there's been so many of them that just haven't had a chance to talk about. But and also talk about the difference between the differences, the choices that they made between the video game and the HBO television show. Some people were like kind of pissed off at the television show because it didn't have the action horror zombie um freneticness of the video game. But I would dare to say that the television show, s- the title The Last of Us had nothing to do with zombies. It had to do with civilization and culture and relationships. And so they heavily focused on, this is the last of us as human beings, as identifying ourselves as humanity, as opposed to zombie apocalypses have nothing to do with the zombies. It's all about us. It's like because the humans are always worse than the zombies, really, for the most part. Zamar says, I actually did use body horror in the epilogue of one of my games. Okay. Describing one of the player's old owners having been transformed partially with Loth's blessing. Ooh. Uh, Driders. Yeah. That's technically a body horror. Um, that's awesome. I haven't seen too many people use Loth in the other abyssal, I don't know, Timothy's like, yeah. Thomas Anderson says, if the effect is caused by something similar to fungus and mold, then I guess one could use borax to affect it the way see people using salt for circles against demons. Ah, yeah. If there is a boraxian thing in your game world, I could see that. Borax in clothing or wood that is moldy or has fungus on it will kill the fungus and mold and protect it long term. Yeah, like using like salts and things. Maybe there's some kind of game effect or wisdom or con saves for it, or maybe you could just maybe it doesn't have a mechanical effect, but it's the creative uses by the players, like pouring a circle around themselves to stop the fungus from going after them, something like that. Zigdamoy is hot fungus mama. I think that's dirty, and I'm gonna put that up here. Her carefully make-upped mouth slowly split into thirds as her teeth separated into hollowed fangs, the dust of the powder slowly caking off as the skin ripped before she dug into the father of her ooh, and as she slowly dug her fingers before she dug into the father of her children alongside those fleshly freshly born children. I didn't do that justice, and that creeps me out. I mean, how cool is that? Like, Zamar's just sparking things in me. Um, Creatures that split open, or like, I don't know, have things on their bodies that drop off that become other things, or they are able to spawn. Remember, we can use non-Euclidean shapes and images for our adversaries, right? Like there's nothing saying that a single monster that walks into a room can't split open to become three more monsters. Or, and I don't mean troll like, I'm literally talking like the interior of the monster is bigger than the exterior of it, like a room could be. You know, the classic, the classic phone booth. You go in the phone booth and it's giant on the inside than the outside. The same thing could be said for monsters. Giant monsters that swallow PCs into itself, and then it's a massive dungeon inside of a living thing. We've seen that played out plenty of times across the tabletop RPG community, for different types of products. And the living dungeon is in and of itself a thing that's in our community. So yeah, use that as well. um, TA says, I've always wondered about the salt circle versus demons, since salt circle will keep out slugs as it burns and dehydrates those slugs. Yeah, and yeah, note to self, never play with, with Zamar unless security blanket is in hand. Else, yeah, I'm going to need myself an Afghan and a flashlight. I'm going to suck my thumb and rock back and forth by the end of this game session. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I will be hysterically crying doing it. Samara over there going, I did my job. Oh shit. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh man. But okay, so something else that may be included in your in a surreal, chaotic mindscape would be things that are the player characters can maybe shape or form the environment, like Mike brought up the other day, like having a DC or spending inspiration to create a thing or bring back a thing, maybe from the past or from PC's own memories or their experiences, or maybe maybe they are the player characters can elicit a change that recalls a thing that happened from before, right? Like a player character is able to create a door in a wall that does where a door never existed, but they use inspiration to create that door. Or again, making a bridge, or something is many leagues away, but all of a sudden in 3 steps they're able to arrive there. It's the thing as a kid. Remember back in the day as a kid, we take our fingers and have something very far away that's very huge, but we take our fingers and pinch and poke, poke, pinch, poke, poke, and we think it's small, and because our eyesight just because of distance and stuff. And but imagine being able to like look at a mountain far away, and the PCs are like, okay, I'm gonna grab that mountain, and they grab the mountain, and it's like a small gemstone in their hand. Is that ooh? That is a thunderstorm happening right now above me. Mike says, want to freak out players? Have a standard humanoid shape break into parts and attack individually. An arm crawling like a snake toward a player will freak them out. The worst that I did with that was, and I wrote it up I put it into a Onyx Path Publishing document, was a person whose skin, muscle, bone, nervous system could all just break apart, and they could shred out of their skin, and the skin was like a flappy thing, like a cloaker. I used it for Dungeons and Dragons. So the skin was a cloaker. The muscled body without the skeleton in it was a choker. The skeleton was a skeleton, or like a skeleton warrior or something. And the nervous system was a fire elemental but I changed it to electrical power or something. Anyway, Thomas Anderson says the TARDIS, the phone box, is supposedly just a gateway to another dimension that is tied to it. So you're just moving the connection to the dimension, not the whole dimension. Sure, sure. I no, I agree with you. But it's it perception wise, it always comes across as something small here, something big somewhere else, like a portable hole or a bag of holding, right? It's basically a portal to another dimension. It's just the doorway keeps moving, but perception wise, we go, it's smaller on the outside than it is on the inside. Yeah, right. Thanks, Mike. Oh man. McGowan Reynolds says hags are great body horror fuel. I love hags. I love using them. They're great, like mid-level lieutenant creatures. Hags are great body horror fuel. No part of a PC's body is safe from their sympathetic magic. Hair, fingernails, body fluids. Yeah. Oh, all can spawn horrible things. Yes. Yes. and and like Mike Gould said, going back to folk horror, hags are excellent folk horror esque. It goes back to something ancient in our brains about a person who's like taking your hair and your skin and your fingernails, either from dead bodies or living bodies. Torturous things. Anyone? Yeah, absolutely. TA says creepy ghost stories channel did a creepy pasta about such a quote creatures coming out of a single entity where the carrier was a scarecrow with hands coming out of it and dragging people into it. Ooh, creepy pasta. Yeah, body horror things are crazy. Mm-mm-mm. Wow, Zamara says, wait, the inside of a gelatinous cube could actually be a dreamscape where you see a twisted and inversed version of the room it's in, and it doesn't dissolve you as much as crush you as it moves past a path that leaves you stuck in a wall. Hey, you could even, if you didn't want to do the okay, there are things that are save and suck, and fifth edition has tried to get rid of those, but paralysis, petrification, charm effects, being trapped effects are like very much save and suck. You could effectively have the person who lost their save be placed into another place to allow them to continue, and that place could be a dark twisted version of itself, right? So the gelatinous cube stuck in the gelatinous cube and splattered onto a wall, or the Medusa that turns a person into stone, or the magical effects of this land that if you don't keep moving will turn you into a bas relief image on a wall or a painting or something, could actually have like a mechanical feature where the that player character or multiple player characters get shunted over into another dimension or mindscape or something like that, and they have to navigate that to return to their body to escape the paralysis that they're in the first place, right? We used to do that as when play back in the day when there was more of a codified planescape ish thing going on. When characters died, we used to keep playing the characters because they passed on to another, passed on to their alignment, their morality designated location in other dimensions. It's not used as much. I don't even think people even remember it anymore. But there was the alignment. Let's see, D and D alignment um, planes. Let's see. Let's go to some images here. See if I can find an image of the planes and how strange they were. It's a good one. What's a real? Nah, you can't see that one. Let's go to the classic. Let's see if I could bring this up because these are a little bit difficult to see. The outer planes, planes of alignment. This is old. This is an old chart. Let's see if this will. If I can. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Mm, 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 mm. Let's see. Let's see if we can share this tab and it's a little too small. Let me get to you guys are going way ahead of me. All right. Um TA. Also later that same guy was in a hospital after falling on some train tracks, and when he woke up a pair of feet moved from behind a curtain to show it was his legs. Ow. He lost those legs from a train running over his legs and they just jumped up and down and ran out the door. What the hell? I hate that. Ugh. Also, back to the infectious nature is that story by Stephen King where spores infected an astronaut's body, causing eyes to peer out of cracks in his hands first, then later his whole torso. I hate stuff like that. Uh-oh. I think we got a bot. Uh, yeah. Okay. What about anyway? Tia says, "What about gelatinous cubes that instead of eating you are forcing you to pass into another reality? You have to find your way back using one of the many other entities, ideas of similar RPGs." Yeah. Yep. Yep. We've done that. Hell, we've used other RPG games to have people shunt over to start playing another game to get back to our real game. Tia says, "Also, instead of being crushed by the cube, I could see someone coming out of another reality." High above the ground, falling to their deaths or deep in the ocean. I don't know if I would do a save and suck, but yeah, I am the doorway. Yeah, Z says I was just playing with the idea of having a portal instead of a gelatinous cube. I like that idea because because I mean let's be honest, the gelatinous cube is absolutely a Gygaxian creature. Like, there's no reason why like why does it have to be a gelatinous cube? Why isn't it like a pool of something like the other oozes? It's because it fit down a 10-foot hallway because that's what the old measurement system was, and so it just fit in the hallway. So you saw treasure or skeletons floating in the hallway. PC runs down the hallway. Boom, you got caught, right? Yeah, the teleportation is not safeguarded for safe teleportation or something. I get it. Like TA is saying, like maybe the teleportation is being safeguarded, and that's the that's the best way to do it or something. So okay, I understand this image is very it's hard to do I have a way of increasing the size? There's a way to do it. I don't have a way, and this is a scan, so it's very difficult to see it. And nope, it's not letting me increase it. But anyway, us old grognards remember this image. And if I can start at 12 o'clock, if you went around, if you went around this circle, all of the alignments at the top of the circle aligned with law and goodness. On the sides of the circle, on the left and sides of the circle, you had more neutral, were the more neutral aligned moral planes, and at the bottom were all the evil and or chaos planes. So if you started at noon, you had Elysium, and then to the side of it, you had the Twin Paradises. Well, let me go around. Let me go from 12 o'clock and around this thing. So you had Elysium, Happy Hunting Grounds, Olympus, um, Gladsheim, Limbo, Pandemonium, the Abyss, Tartarus, Hades, Gehenna, the Nine Hells, Acheron, Nirvana, Arcadia, Seven Heavens, and Twin Paradises. And of course, right in the middle was True Neutral. That was Concordant Opposition, which, in Planescape was renamed Sigil, which I think is ridiculous. And if I move up to the alignments themselves, you could overlay this alignment chart onto the planes of existence. So if you notice, this is not a 9 point chart. Well, technically it is, but they just turned it into a pie chart. So at the very top at 12 o'clock, you had neutral good. At the very bottom, you had neutral evil. And to the very left, you have lawful neutral. To the other side, you had chaotic neutral. And some of these were actually described as neutral, like lawful neutral good, and neutral good leaning towards chaos, because you had individual planes in between, say, neutral good and chaotic good. You had planes in between neutral evil and chaotic evil, and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty weird, but that was in the back of the Dungeon Master's Guide, I think it was. And then these were the elemental planes where you had like earth, air, fire, water, and then you had the ethereal plane around that, and then above it was the positive material, and below was a negative material plane. Today, it's kind of positive material's kind of gone. Now it's more like Feywild, and then instead of negative material, it's kind of the shadow realm, and it's not really drawn like this any longer. But I still have that image in these images in my head about the planes of existence. And the moral planes of existence were described in Planescape, and the chaos planes, Limbo, Pandemonium, the Abyss, Tartarus, um, a little bit of a Hades, a little bit of a Gladsheim and Olympus, like the chaos realms off onto the right side tended to like shift and change and warp and things like that. So it was pretty cool. Mm, 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 mm. Sorry, going back into what our co-hosts have to say. Always thought TA says I always thought of the cube as just its generic shape most of the time from being in square rooms. Exactly. And such, but in open air or water would be more like a giant amoeba spreading out and spherical. Exactly. I mean, that's how I always um it was only a square because of it was stuck in a place, not because but over time, you've got like what was it, the adventuring party. It was a mimic, a cube, a gelatinous cube, and a rust monster going on an adventure trying to look for a dungeon to live in. I can't remember that. It was a, comic series, online comic series. So Mara says, just because I can say this, okay, the walls have eyes. Yeah, those eyes all open as you come down the hallway, staring at you, starting to weep in its unblinking glory. But move too fast, and wings will appear from their eyelashes, flapping furiously, leaving stinging eyelashes everywhere and revealing grinding and tearing teeth in the pupils. Ugh, ugh. That sounds like a very disgusting looking beholder type things, or what are they called? Spectators or eye tyrants or whatever the hell you want to call it, right? Ugh. It doesn't have a central eye, it's got a central maw. Mike says, associating dreams with limbo. A dream is an unintentional astral projection to the realm of chaos. What a way to insert slotty machinations in a campaign. Hells yes. Hell yeah. Hey, maybe that's a real thing that's really in the world. Like an example would be um, like when if you're having too many nightmares, maybe people are afraid of maybe people are afraid of you having too many nightmares because those nightmares are actually you spiritually, silver corded and the whole 9 yards being sent to another location. Let me see. I'm trying to look for another. I'm just going to find another map that has a large enough. Hmm. Yeah, that's an old school one itself. Let's see if we can lower plains. I don't want to. I just want to Forgotten Realms. Nope, nope, nope. I can't get one that's big enough from Planescape. Planescape mineral dust. Ooh, is that big enough? Okay, come on, come on. There we go. All right, let's share this one. Let's see if this is okay. I think you guys can see it. All right. So here's another planar. Let me click it. Yeah, here's another planar descriptor. A little bit more. It's a little clearer. So like right in the middle, you have like the Feywilds, the material plane, the Shadowfell. Around that, you have all of the elemental and the para elemental, para elemental, and I think there's another elemental descriptor. But anyway, you've got earth, air, fire, water. Between those, you have smoke, magma, ooze, and ice. And then on the outside of that, you got lightning, steam, salt, dust, mineral, radiance, ash. And then when you go out into the astral planes, then you have like the lawful, the good, the evil, and the chaotic planes as they move around. And they're using the names of from Planescape. So let's go up to Mount Celestia for at the north end. I mean, 12 o'clock, and then we've got um, Biopia and Elysium, the Beastlands, Arborea, Isgard, Limbo, Pandemonium, the Abyss, Kasseri, Hades, Gehenna, the Nine Hells, Acheron, Mechanus, and Arcadia. And then within each of those planes, they had certain like kinds of landscapes and things like that. um, I, well, no, Planescape still exists, so we could still go there, and it would be pretty. Like Mike brought up the idea of like, hey, maybe you're not just maybe you're not just dreaming or having nightmares. Maybe you're going into these other realms when you dream. But that was a OSR. It was assumed that if your character died, you would go whatever your alignment was. Actually in AD&D, we just assumed that whatever if your character was lawful neutral, you went to mechanics that you when your character died. Uh, that was a thing, and that was the afterlife. So maybe people who have dreams are tangentially going to these other realms, and maybe that's a real thing in your world. I tyrant. T-I rant? And a I like an I ranting like, "Oh, you guys, I can't believe you like that movie." Mike says, "Here's another hook. A newly created old one, Warlock's nightmares, manifests as real for others. A dream of falling will drop an NPC from a height. A dream of a monster will create it. There's a combo murder mystery and dreamscape. Yeah, whatever you dream becomes real. Or wow, could you imagine describing your spells as you're describing your spells as the results of a dreamscape? So like I don't cast magic missile, it's just the person believes that they're falling and they're suffering like force damage because in their mind they fell, and then suddenly the NPC collapses with like broken bones or something because in their minds they fell, so their body receives the same damage or something. I don't know. Anyway, I know I'm ripping something out of my ass, but yeah. TA says, "Hey, you could drag that concept of real dreams by introducing something like a hallucinogen, but is actually a mana manifestation. I butchered that. Instead of hallucinations, it causes manifestations. A manifestogen. Hell's yes. Yeah, why not? I mean, what a great way to introduce especially a long-term, like maybe let's go back to those hags, right? Like maybe the hags aren't the main big bad evil. Maybe they're trying to bring forth a nightmare realm into this realm, and that's what they do. And there's like you start to pull out and bring out and reflavor a bunch of like chimeric type monsters or something that would be pretty nasty. Or you get NPCs that are able to, they're fanatics. We got to have a cult. We got to put a cult in here. So there's a fanatical cult, and they willingly harm themselves by putting themselves within the worst nightmares possible, and then those nightmares spill forth out of them. Maybe they drink a concoction, or classic alien chest bursting, or their head split open and strange nightmarish things come out. And those nightmarish things don't have to be just monsters. They could change the landscape. Could you imagine a cult changes the landscape around their their evil coven or something? And as the PCs get closer and closer, a couple of miles or kilometers away, the world starts to change and shift, and the things that they thought were normal, gravity changes, plants start shifting, the earth is weird. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, manifestogens. I like that. Mike says it might also be the origin story of a wild major illusionist. Their dreams become real. And maybe the plot is, guess what, guys? I know your first level, but all those nightmares and dreams that people are having, you got to put the cork back on the bottle. And your mission is to close, like to not just close the portal, but yeah, ways like DJ rips something my ass. Oh man. Hey Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my ass. Oops, think I'm gonna need another ass. Sorry. Oh man. Hey Rocky. Yes. Yeah, only someone of a certain age remembers that cartoon. TA says, so you just basically can drive around about 1/10 of the universe by driving to a portal on a planet to jump to another planet. So on making a massive maze. Yeah. If you got a long enough thread, you could just keep going to different places, jump into a portal. You got a rope with you. You come back out of another portal to another place and keep taking a rope with you, sewing it all together. Yeah, hell's yeah. Why not? Why not? Z says, I would argue yeah, yep, Bullwinkle, yep, absolutely. I don't know about needing another ass, but yeah. Hey, Rocky. Oh man, I used to actually think he used to say that he needed to pull a rabbit out of his ass. I was like, why did they put that in there? And it's like, oh, he'll pull a rabbit out of his hat. Zamar says, I would argue that they are not trying to bring forth, but desperately holding back that nightmare realm, all while being transformed and corrupted by it because they are far too close to it. Ooh, ooh. So the so-called evil hags are more martyrs in a system where they are consistently abusing the population, but to them it's the small price to pay to keep the nightmare realm back. And when the PCs eliminate the hags, with the hags screaming like, "No, you don't understand," and then the PCs are like, "I'm striking you down because I sensed evil. Evil must be stopped." And all of a sudden, it's like the nightmare realm just bursts forth on the horizon. You see colors changing, and wild animals like running towards safety, and of course, the wild animals themselves are shifting and changing and becoming like, I don't know, the wild elk start becoming more humanoid, and they're all pissed off themselves, and the 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 goat or ram bumps into the tiger, which bumps into a snake and becomes a chimera or something in pain, lashing out in rage and anger. And it's yeah, evil exactly. That would be kind of cool. Thomas Anderson says, sorry, character limit that was part of a previous comment about the manifestogen being something I made for my own homebrew game. Oh, well, sorry about taking the manifestogens, but listen, that's we've got the manosphere out there in YouTube land. We're going to the manifestogens. Yeah, we're going to straight up sell that stuff. 6 packs. Yeah, more like energy drinks. Feeling a little low in energy? Not, you know, never mind. I was going to go into a Cialis commercial. I'm not going to do that. Drink some manifestogen. Mm-mm-mm. Then we're gonna have some bumper ladies walking by, like, yeah, look at the manifestogen. Yeah. All right. So anyway, guys, we're coming to the end. You know us. We always have a ton of ideas. Please steal the ideas. That's what we do around here. Tomorrow we're going to go over an oldie but goodie sci-fi fifth edition aside game. We're going to do a little page through review of Espergenesis. I think over time, I this is just a short preview right here, but over time, it's been knocked a little bit. It's lost a bunch of points, but as one of the most prolific sci-fi versions of fifth edition, because fifth edition is a big thing here, even for those who don't play it. You can't deny its influence in bringing people into it. I think it deserves another look, and maybe as even a starting point for those who are like, yeah, I've never played. I love fifth edition. I like sci-fi, but I never thought about running it. Well, here's a way where the two kind of cross into each other. So anyway, guys, thank you so much. Here's some surreal thumbnails that you might want to take a look at and things like that. Go over to ArtStation, maybe be sparked, or even hire some of these people for your tabletop role playing game, maybe even kind of, sort of. Yeah, for those of us that don't like body horror, adding like eyeballs and weird body images to the landscape. Ew. There's a in the movie What Dreams May Come, there is a scene where Robin Williams has to run across a plane of it's a flat plane, but when he lands in the plane, the entire plane is made up of just arms and torsos and limbs of people trying to reach up and grab at him. And every single one of those limbs is like a guilt that he feels of something that he hadn't fully committed to or finished in his living life, because at this point he was in a dreamlike dead realm, and I was like, oh, I don't like this at all. Ugh. So yeah, that got me so much. Zamara says, yeah, sounds like a Delta Green game turning into a D&D game. Heck, put the Delta Green game into a medieval setting and then everything will make sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wayne's like, well, time to go clean house. Thanks, everyone. Great laughs were had. Yeah, at my expense, I think. But yeah, I got to go because it's going to storm here soon, and I need to batten down the hatches so nothing gets soaked. It needs to remain dry. Yeah, same here. Already got soaked though. Samar says, remember, love with your heart and let that mind create the emotional, metaphysical landscapes that will haunt the dreams of thousands to come. Yeah, awesome. Mm-mm-mm. Hands growing out of the ground that slap the ground in response to you getting too close to them walking by. It was something I remember from a cartoon, but forgot the name. Fantastic Planet, maybe. Yeah, human limbs should not be growing from the landscape, which is why you should absolutely use it. So anyway, Z, love the comment. Love the alliteration and everything. Guys, have a great one tomorrow. We have a Future Friday, and then we are done. So, everyone, have a great day. Got to get out of this place. But don't know when we'll ever come back. It'll be tomorrow. So, guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for joining the show. Please spread the word. Please like, share, subscribe if you like what you see. If you don't, leave a comment and explain how you feel. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. Be creative, and I will see thee. Oops, wait, we'll see thee later. Bye. Wow, I wonder why it didn't show up.